Welcome everyone to the first class meeting of Psych 132. This is Introduction to Programming for Psychological Scientists. It's great to see many familiar faces, and if we haven't had the chance to meet yet, my name is Jeremy Manning, and I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Psych and Brain Sciences here. In addition to teaching courses like this, I run a research lab focused on building computational models of the brain network dynamics that support learning and memory. So I've been tinkering around with programming for a little over 25 years, and it's fundamentally shaped how I think about nearly everything, including how I approach scientific research. And I also find programming to be incredibly satisfying and fun. And there's like this sense of joy that I get from watching a program I wrote, like chugging along and accomplishing some task by itself using the rules that I made up. And there's often also this like puzzle solving component to programming that I really enjoy. And I hope that this course will help you to get some of that same enjoyment out of programming. And I hope that building up your programming skills will also have indirect cognitive benefits in other areas of your life as well. So today I want to orient you to how my course is going to work this term. And one of the most important parts of that orientation is going to be giving you a quick introduction to some of the tools we'll be using throughout the rest of the term. And you'll also get your first quick homework assignment, which is to get your various accounts set up so that you can use those tools, and also to work through some tutorials. After that orientation, I also want to take some time to check in with you a little bit so that I can get a sense of your backgrounds and goals. And last, I'm hoping we'll have a nice chunk of time to do some group exercises to get our brains kind of primed and to start thinking in potentially new and unfamiliar ways. Before we dig into that though, I also want to take a moment to acknowledge that these are really strange and challenging times. And I'm sure that this is not your preferred way to learn, and it's certainly not my preferred way to teach. The pandemic and the geopolitical situation are challenging us in ways that many students and academics haven't had to deal with in our lifetimes. And unfortunately, I can't offer any quick fixes or magic solutions to make everything okay. But I can offer you my compassion from the very start of the term, and also my pledge to do my best to give you a great learning experience. Of course, I also want to acknowledge from the start that I am not always going to succeed at giving you a great learning experience. So you'll probably hear my 3-year-old or my cats join us or interrupt us. And I imagine that we're all balancing a lot in addition to our classes. So let's go into this with a positive and compassionate outlook. We'll all do our best with a tough situation, and we'll get through it together. And along those lines, if there's anything I can do to support you through the term or throughout the term, just let me know, and I'll do my best. And that includes asking for extensions or leniency. So I've set the pace of this course to what I think is needed in order to get through all the material. But since there's a lot to get through, the course as it's currently designed moves pretty quickly. But it's more important to me that we maintain our mental health and then that we get through all the material. So I do want us to try our best to get through the fundamentals so that you can leave this class with some additional knowledge. But if we need to change up the pace of the course, then that's totally fine. Just be proactive and reach out to me as early as possible when you have requests or concerns so that I can effectively and fairly deal with them. So if you reach out to me like 10 minutes before an assignment is due, I might not be able to do much. But if you reach out to me right after something's assigned, I could potentially push back everyone's deadlines if there's a critical mass of students who want that, or if there's some extenuating circumstance or need, just let me know and we'll figure something out. You have enough stress in your lives, I'd imagine, to be worrying about your grades at this time. So I'd rather you focus your energy on learning. I should also say, please feel free to jump in with questions at any point. Just keep your microphones muted when you're not intending to speak so that we don't get too much noise interference. All right, so, oh, no, just an echo. All right, so let's dive in. Okay. So probably the most critical piece of this course is how to actually access the materials. So you've already figured out how to join our Zoom link, presumably because you received it through the Canvas announcement that I sent out last night. So we'll use the same Zoom link for every course meeting, including office hours. And you might have also noticed that this meeting is being recorded. So I'll record all course meetings so that people who can't attend synchronously are able to still keep up with what happens. But I also recognize that some of you might have privacy concerns. So if you have concerns about being recorded, please send me an email before the end of class today so that I don't post anything you're uncomfortable with. And relatedly, if there's something you want to discuss in class that you don't want recorded, just tell me that either in the moment or through email, and I'll cut it out of the recording before posting the video. In that same Canvas announcement, I also sent out a link to the course materials, including the syllabus and meeting times, etc. Please take a look at that stuff. You might notice this is a hybrid graduate and undergraduate course, and the expectations I have of you are going to be slightly different depending on your academic status, but the content of the course is the same, so that's what I'll focus on during our Zoom sessions. The overarching goal of this course is to introduce you to a set of tools and concepts that you can use to do computational research in the fields of psychology and neuroscience. And as you might imagine, that's an extremely broad conceptual space. So we'll have to pick and choose some key areas to explore. And the course is organized into roughly 10 modules, where each module covers some fundamental topic or concept. And then each module also comes with an assignment aimed at giving you some practice with the associated ideas. And some of those assignments, like the first one you'll be assigned today, will be very quick. So they'll just take a few minutes to complete once you've gone through the tutorials and readings. And then other assignments will be more involved and will require you to really put in an effort to solve the full thing. And then the first few modules of the course, which we'll do in the first few weeks, are aimed at introducing you to the fundamentals of programming. And then as we progress to later modules, those will be aimed at building up your toolkit specifically around tools that I think are the most useful in computational psychology research and computational neuroscience research. So there's also some flexibility in how things progress based on your backgrounds and interests. So if we go through all of the modules in turn, as I've kind of outlined them in the materials that I sent out, then you'll get a high level exposure to a bunch of different topics and approaches. But if some module really speaks to the majority of the class, or if we get stuck on or especially curious about some concept, then I'm totally happy to tweak things as we go. So I view the course outline as one potential path we can take, but chances are very good that we'll skip or modify one or more of those modules. I cover my grading policy in detail in the syllabus, so check that out for details. But the high level idea is that each assignment will be worth some number of points that varies by assignment, according to my expected difficulty of that assignment. And your job is to get as many points as you can. Most of the assignments are graded automatically by like running your code through a series of tests that make sure things are working right. Some of those tests are like, does your code load without crashing? And others are like, testing some edge case. And then the more tests you pass, the more points you get. Another important point that I should mention about grading is that if you're a grad student, you get to drop any one assignment. And if you're an undergrad student, you get to drop any 2 assignments. And if you're auditing the course, nothing's graded anyway, so just do what you want. All right, any questions about anything so far? Wonderful. Okay. So for some people, learning how to program for the first time is totally intuitive. And for others, it is agonizing. And my guess is that both of those scenarios are going to be represented across, the set of students, or you all, the people enrolled or auditing in this course. And that's totally fine. And you might find for yourself that some things are intuitive and other things are not. So to help accommodate different learning rates, I've designed each module in the course around like a set of tutorials that you'll go through on your own or in groups, like at your own pace. And then some tutorials come with pre-recorded videos, but most of them are more like reading materials supplemented with interactive examples and practice problems. And then we'll mostly use our synchronous class meetings to work through examples or points that you're stuck on or curious about. And then sometimes I'll prepare a demo or like a more formal lecture to introduce a tool or idea. But most of our class time is going to be spent actually programming together, either as a full class or in smaller breakout groups. Something else that you'll hopefully pick up on quickly is that mistakes will come often and from everyone. And I definitely include myself in the mistake-making category. We're going to do a lot of live coding demos, and not everything will work. In fact, most things won't work. Sometimes we'll spend a good chunk of a class meeting like failing to figure out why some weird piece of code isn't behaving like we think it should. And it's really critical that you embrace mistakes and imperfections as valuable learning opportunities. So if it's your turn to screen share and code while your group or even the entire class is watching you, which I know sounds terrifying, but you're going to be okay. I want you to mentally work towards being okay with the likelihood that you're not necessarily going to know how to do everything or sometimes anything. And part of the process is to learn how to work through those blocks and to ask help, for help from me or your classmates or Google. By the same token, when you're watching your classmates or me squirm and feel insecure, like sharing our screens and not knowing what we're doing, it's really important that you show compassion. So obviously we're going to want to provide constructive feedback and suggestions. And the mindset I want you to adopt here is that we as a class are a team, and we're going to be collectively working towards solving some tricky problems together. Sometimes that can be uncomfortable or frustrating, and it'll be good to practice working through those challenges. To that same end, I strongly encourage you to work in groups and to help each other out with the assignments. So it's important that each of you submits your own version of the assignment, like each assignment, unless I explicitly tell you it's a group assignment. But even for ostensibly individual assignments, you are allowed and encouraged to help each other out. And you can work in pairs or groups of 10, or we can even just like work through parts of the assignment during our class meetings, like as an entire class. You just have to submit your own copy of each assignment so that you can get appropriate credit for it. One of my favorite ways to program is to sit, oh, my cat's coming to visit, is to sit down next to someone and like trade off who's typing and, you know, both people like brainstorming ideas or like drawing on a whiteboard. And it's really difficult to capture that hackathon spirit over Zoom. And that's just a real shame. But I think, you know, we'll try to approximate it at least somewhat using screen sharing and breakout rooms along with some of the tools that I'll tell you about next. Any questions about the course format so far? Okie dokie. Actually, maybe before I dig into the tools, I should introduce our TA. Most grad classes don't have a TA, but we have a special guest TA this term, Paxton Fitzpatrick. Paxton, do you want to say hello?
Sure, yeah. Hello. So I'm Paxton. I was an undergrad 19, so I graduated about a year and a half ago now. And I've been managing Jeremy's lab since then. So I'm still around. I've helped out with this course in the past. I've helped out with a couple other courses in the department. And yeah, so I'll just be around in case you have any questions or run into any issues with any assignments. Feel free to email me or tag me in the Gitter channel, which I think Jeremy's going to talk about a little more in a minute. But yeah, that's about it.
Cool, thanks, Paxton. Clapping emojis, very nice. Yeah, so in addition to Zoom, we'll be using a few different kinds of tools to help us learn to program. So I'm going to share my browser window here. Let's see. Okay. Let me adjust so I can see you all. All right, can you all see that? Wonderful. Okay. So the tool that we're going to be relying on most in this course is called Google Collaboratory. And to access Collaboratory, you just need a Google account. If you don't have one, you can sign up for free. And you can see the web address in the window I'm sharing here. The important part is collab.research.google.com. Okay, and so Collaboratory provides an interactive coding environment that runs on Google servers. There's nothing to set up or install, which makes it really easy to like get set up quickly and to share or collaborate with each other. And I recommend using your laptop or your desktop to code in this course. But if you have any computing device with a web browser, then technically you can use Collaboratory. Okay. The second tool we'll be using is called GitHub. This page is kind of cool. You can like rotate the earth with your mouse. Try it out. But that's not what GitHub is actually about. GitHub is a platform for sharing and keeping track of files and code. And it's also free to sign up for a GitHub account. There's a somewhat steep learning curve to getting oriented to GitHub, but the nice thing is in this course is that you don't need to be an expert. You just need to know some basics. So when you start going through the course material, you'll see that I've included a little introduction to GitHub in the first module. And the main thing that we're going to be using GitHub for is to submit your assignments and like receive feedback on your assignments. Okay. Oh, and here's the course GitHub repository. So all of the course materials are available in this repository. So you can check those out. And then the last tool that we'll be using is the one that Paxton mentioned. It's called Gitter. And it's kind of like a chat platform for GitHub. So if you've used Slack before, Gitter is kind of like a version of Slack that's linked to your GitHub account. And it's easier to access publicly. So we'll use Gitter as a platform for like asking questions and sharing code snippets and stuff like that. Okay. So I'm going to stop screen sharing. Okay. Any questions about those tools? Lovely. All right, so you have now been oriented. Congratulations. So now that that's done, I thought we could do a little check-in about your backgrounds and interests. So let's see if this works. Oh, I got a thumbs up. You hear what I'm saying. Okay, so I'm going to launch a poll, and I just want, like, for this first question, I just want to know, like, have you programmed before, and if so, how much, and like, what's your specific experience? Okay. Okay, so a lot of Python beginners or programmers in other languages. Interesting. Okay, that's really helpful. Wonderful. Okay. Okay, so that's helpful. Yeah, so if you've programmed before in Python, you're going to find the first module quite easy. You know, you can just skim it over and, you know, use that time for something else interesting. If I see one student has never programmed before at all, so there will be a steeper learning curve for that student. And then if you've programmed in another language, I suspect, you know, you'll fall somewhere in the middle. So, you know, assuming you have programmed in like a Python-like language, so basically, you know, any kind of mainstream language except for something like Lisp or Scheme or something with like a weird syntax, well, a non-Python-like syntax, then, you know, Python will be familiar to you. So really, you just have to learn like the mapping from the things you already know to how to do those things in Python. So I think, you know, you'll be familiar with some of those tools. Okay. So I'd also love to hear from you all, or, you know, whoever's, oh, I can share these results apparently. Wonderful. I'd love to hear from whoever's willing to share why you're taking this course. Like, what are you most excited about learning, if anyone's willing to share?
I guess I can say a little bit. So I will go ahead and out myself as the one person who has never programmed before. And I've recently started, thank you. I've recently started doing some research in a lab that focuses on the intersection of mental health and technology. And both of those things kind of have to do a lot with, you know, programming, and I want to be more helpful and productive. And like in my future research, I imagine it will be useful as well. So I was like, I'm going to go out on a limb and try this. And I'm also an undergraduate, for those of you who don't know, but I'm very excited.
That's awesome. Yeah. Good on you for trying this out. And yeah, hopefully it'll be a good experience. Anyone else want to share?
I can go. well, let's see if my internet lets me do this. Yay. So I can still see you guys are still moving. This is awesome. So I'm taking this course because I basically learned Python by myself. And as with any language you learn without somebody giving you feedback, you're going to sound a bit weird. So I think my code is not as structured as it could be, as legible as it could be. And there's just, you know, certain expressions that I probably don't even know or have the faintest idea that they exist. So I'm hoping to patch up gaping holes that I don't know exist.
Yeah, that's a great, that's great. Yeah, I agree also, like, you know, things you learn kind of informally through experience, that can be really valuable. And sometimes, you know, life can be the best teacher, but then, yeah, for things like languages, including computer languages, when your goal is to like communicate with other humans or other computing machinery, you know, it's helpful to have like a common foundation. And so, you know, there might be some, if you've programmed before, but haven't like kind of learned formally, my guess is that there's going to be some unlearning, and that's okay. We will get through that. Okay. Does anyone else want to share? That's helpful. All right. Okay. Well, you know, feel free to jump in at other points if you want to add something. The last thing I was curious about is what you're most concerned about going into this term. So like, what do you think the hardest part of learning to program or improving your programming skills is going to be? So like, take your biggest fear and then tell the whole class. No, just joking. Yeah.
I'll do that. I think, at least in like my previous experience with sort of coding related endeavors, a tough thing is that when one thing isn't working, often like the set of things that are supposed to come after that doesn't work, and that can be really frustrating. So I think that can be kind of an anxiety of like getting stuck at an early level and then the rest of the stuff not working.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe like building up strategies for kind of like systematically debugging and thinking through like computing problems, or, you know, problems in general could be helpful there. Yeah. So we'll definitely talk about that. Anyone else?
I think like a general fear of the learning curve as a whole, right? And maybe just sort of technology and sort of language that I'm unfamiliar with and terms that I'm unfamiliar with, and trying to get like a handle on all of those as well.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it can be scary stuff. Another like common concern that students in the past have expressed is like there's sometimes an association between like math or engineering skills and programming, and some psych focused students, which most of you might be, tend to like not be as exposed to those fields, and so that can feel scary. Yeah, and I really believe that although there is this link between like math and computer science that is like dates back to the foundations of computer science, I totally believe that you do not have to be like great at math to be an awesome programmer, and you don't have to be like a particularly quantitative person to be an awesome programmer. In case that is of interest or comforting to anyone. Okay, so wonderful, thank you for sharing. So what I'd like to do for the rest of today's class is to do a little exercise to get you into a programming frame of mind. So many of you indicated you have some programming experience, so you'll already have a sense of some aspects of how you might approach this problem. But if you haven't learned to program formally, this is one of the ways that, well, not this exact exercise, but exercises like the one we'll do are what resonated with me most when I was learning to program. Okay, so we are not actually going to do programming in this exercise, but we're going to do something that I'm going to call the sandwich exercise. So what we're going to do is we're going to break out into groups, and your job is going to be to define as specifically as possible what a sandwich is. And your goal is to come up with a flow chart or a set of rules or a checklist that you can systematically tick off by going in a deterministic, predefined order, answering yes, no questions, that sort of thing. That if you follow that flow chart, you can tag or label some arbitrary thing as either a sandwich or a not sandwich. And so we could call it a sandwich definition flowchart or a recipe for a sandwich, something like that. So for example, a naive solution might be to write down something like, is the thing made of bread? Or is it filled with something? But you want to be able to correctly label not sandwiches like pastries, or non-standard sandwiches like an open-faced sandwich or a double-decker sandwich. Yeah, so that's the first step, writing a flow chart. And you want to use yes, no questions, that's all you can use. Okay. And you have to go in the predefined order. That's critical too. Okay. So then once you've come up with that flow chart, I want you to come up with a bunch of examples of things that are versus aren't sandwiches, and try them out on your flow chart and make sure they're labeled correctly. And then the best part is to try to break your definitions. So the last step is to come up with, they're called adversarial examples. So things that you think will break other groups' definitions of what a sandwich is and be mistagged. And then you can try to make sure your definition is tweaked so that your definition works for your adversarial examples. And so we'll, let's see, why don't we take 20 minutes to try this out, and then we'll reconvene as a class and see how our definitions perform. And then I'll randomly assign you to breakout rooms, and then I'll pop in and out to see how things are going. All right, any questions on what we're doing before we start? Okay. Let's see, so I don't know, maybe I'll do 4 breakout rooms. I'll do 3. Do you want to, well, okay, by show of hands, do you want to pick your breakout rooms, or you want me to just assign randomly? Who wants to pick them? All right. You got to respond right away, so I'm going to do it randomly. All right. Boom.
All right, I'm gonna head out to another breakout room. This is a good way of organizing. All right.
Should we? Okay, fair.
Hey, Jeremy.
Howdy. How's everyone doing?
Good.
Good.
Should we be writing down our, we've been kind of talking about it, but do we need to be writing down our steps?
Well, someone should write down your steps. You could have like a shared Google Doc if you want, or take notes on a piece of paper or whatever. Up to you.
I can make a Google document really quickly.
I think I've enabled screen sharing, so I think you should be, but you could try if you wanted to screen share, you could try while I'm here so I can fix it if it's broken.
Okay. So here's a link if anyone wants. Oh, I don't know if I sent that to the whole breakout room or. Okay, cool. And I'm happy to screen share if we want to do that. Just let me know.
I think this is fine.
Okay, cool. So we were talking about how the top and the bottom needs to be the same thing, I guess.
Like air. I'm just checking.
I guess we should talk about bread.
I don't know. What about like a lettuce wrap? Is that a sandwich? Yeah.
So like same edible material? I don't know.
Wait, is a lettuce wrap a sandwich? Are we putting it there? Or does it have to be like a carb, like a tortilla or like
a wrap? Not called a sandwich.
So then the top and the bottom should both be pieces of bread.
Cool.
Yeah. So if it was like a waffle, that's still a sandwich.
Waffle sandwich.
That's kind of bread.
Yeah. Don't they do like, you can get like French toast breakfast sandwiches places. So
yeah, they make them with donuts.
Ooh, donut ice cream sandwiches. I would still call sandwich.
Oh,
yeah,
that's a good one.
What is that?
Like a donut cut open and it's like ice cream in the middle.
No.
You've never had one?
Not a donut.
Yeah, I haven't had the donuts either. I've had like I don't know what they are,
Like
but like
bars, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that top and bottom is. Bread or something.
Graham cracker, maybe?
A biscuit? I don't know.
Oh, so it's like it's more. Is that like bread? Are those crackers bread?
we need to define what bread is.
Philosophical.
Okay.
Baked yeasted dough.
All right, cool. Sounds like you're making progress. I'm gonna leave you to it and head out to another room.
Great, thank you.
You could say the more generic sandwiches,
yeah, we have to do some sort of stricter subset because we're not doing like a knuckle sandwich or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh, you guys got a knuckle sandwich. That's one of my adversarial examples.
What is it?
It's when you punch someone in the face.
Yeah. I would think we wouldn't want to include that.
Yeah.
I think that's a different sense of sand.
Probably doing a food sandwiches.
Yeah.
Okay, so edible.
Can you eat it?
Safely though, so I'm gonna say
true, yes. Is it safely? Is it intended to be?
Well, I'll say edible has that built into it.
Okay.
I think. Because there's levels of edibility.
Okay.
What else?
Can we take? Go ahead.
Sorry, Lindsay. What are you saying?
Oh, I was going to say, is there non-bread situated amongst bread? Yes. In the midst of bread.
But there's open toast, right?
There you
That's
go.
true.
There you go.
So it needs
There's
to
an
include
open sandwich.
what? It needs to include a bread item and a non-bread item. Is that what you're saying?
Essentially, so you can take into account that not all sandwiches have like meat, for example, or whatever.
What about ice cream sandwiches?
Oh wow.
But isn't the sandwich? Isn't that wheat? Like some sort of wheat, and then
Yeah, that's some sort of basically essentially cookie.
Yeah.
It's a. So are we taking a very broad definition of bread, or do we want to say like baked good? Or I guess it doesn't. Well, what does baked mean? You know, like is it tandoori oven baking?
I mean, we can make it however specific we want. We just have to make decisions, or is our definition going to be the one that's going to,
like
What about grain
a
product?
carb product? Yeah.
Carb product.
I think bread's fine. You say is it
yeah,
something
because
sandwich
carb
eating
product
2 pieces of
now
bread.
broadens it to like fruit roll-ups.
Okay, complex. But that's not derived from grain.
What about
Is a
bread?
lettuce wrap a sandwich? Are wraps sandwiches? Are tacos sandwiches?
Says right in the name.
Yeah,
I think
true.
I don't know. I think we want to include things like hoagies. I think things like wraps. I don't think a burrito is a sandwich. I don't know. Maybe.
I agree.
Is a
with
hot
that
dog a sandwich?
statement.
The classic.
Really, this is sort of a, I don't know, sort of a linguistics thing, I guess. But
I don't know if this would horrify people, but we have rice sandwich in Korea.
That sounds amazing.
rice, things in between, anything you would put in sandwich, and then we call it rice sandwich. So
I want that.
I can make you one.
That can be one of our edge cases.
I like it. Yeah. So I don't know if
so we're just gonna change this to bread.
I don't know if you're already doing this, but I definitely suggest like sharing some sort of document or like
We've got a
writing
Google
down.
Doc.
Yeah, Steven
You have the
is
Google
working
Doc
on
on.
it.
Wonderful.
I can screen share as well if that.
Oh, that's so good to you.
Ooh, that
All right.
would be
Seems
good.
like you're all doing great here. I'm gonna move on to a different room. Nice. I like it.
Okay, we have to. I would say it has. Okay, so we're saying an ice cream sandwich is a sandwich.
Yeah, that's fine. I think we need to discuss something positional, right? Like,
How about? Does it have to be finger food?
Yeah.
You're asking
about
good
that
questions.
Open space sandwich you
I
might
think-
not
yeah.
eat with your fingers, right?
We could just say that a taco sandwich.
But also, a taco shell is not the same thing as bread because it's not leavened.
That's true.
That's true. Yes, we eliminate tacos when we include a leavening agent. There we go.
Right.
What about a matzah sandwich, if you're familiar with matzah?
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like on Passover they eat bread, but
Matzah sandwiches don't work. It crumbles in your hand.
It's still a sandwich. Well, I don't know. Is it?
well, pita bread, you can make a sandwich with pita, and does pita have a leavening agent? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I
It
think
does.
it's
Yeah.
Okay, well then never mind.
the matzah sandwich is an important question, though.
We could specify that like somehow that the food that's in between the bread can't be a hot dog or like some kind of sausage.
I think that's a sandwich.
Like, what about a meatball hero? That's a sandwich.
Yeah. I think we just think hot dog. I think we just need to include hot dog as a sandwich. Unpopular opinion.
Can I take a very arrogant culture stance on bread and be like, I decide what bread is?
I think collectively we should decide what a sandwich. I think we should have a agreement about what we think a sandwich count is.
Oh, also, I just wanted to joke because I'm German. That's why I got. Oh, I see. Bread and beer is all I got, but I think Anna's right. We should agree on a sandwich, like what it is.
I do think it'll be very difficult to include like a meatball sub and not include a hot dog.
Right. I guess the question is the goal to get down to like this stereotypical like canonical sandwich, ham and cheese, 2 pieces of bread, or are we trying to include all possible cultural definitions of a sandwich? Like who decided that a meatball hero is and a hot dog isn't?
At that point, who decided that a burrito wasn't?
Whoever wrote bread needs to be leavened. Or whoever came up with the leavening agent in the bread definition decided a burrito is not a sandwich. So I like the does it have layers thing.
I think the layers is a good one. Also, the single bite containing all of the ingredients, I feel like covers a lot of bases.
Well, most
Are you saying a burrito is or isn't a sandwich?
Is not.
So what about a burrito sandwich? Like you could define it recursively. So a sandwich where the burritos are used instead of bread, would that be a sandwich?
So you have 2 burritos, and in between the 2 rolls, you smear some PB&J.
Yeah, is that a sandwich?
No.
Oh, that's a travesty.
It doesn't have to be delicious. It just has to be a sandwich or not a sandwich. Yeah, you can. Yeah. These are the deep questions that you need to ponder.
Layers.
All right, so we're gonna go for about 5 more minutes. All right.
Thank you.
Good luck. Yep. All right.
Okay, let's figure out if we can keep water.
Yeah, we can add that distinction.
How's it going here?
Making progress.
Awesome.
Be thought.
Cool. Just wanted to let you know there's about 5 more minutes left, so time to panic. I'm just joking. You don't have to panic. But... All right.
What about like the action of putting together the sandwich? Like, is that a good qualifier to include? Like, it needs to be like something needs to be placed between the 2 pieces of bread. Is that necessary or not?
Or like just the order because of
Yeah, exactly.
Territory.
Oh, that's true.
So are we gonna say
I gotta mention this.
calzones do count? Like, because that's not a sandwich.
No way, it's not a sandwich.
Okay. So then do you want to exclude like
That's
dumplings?
a wrap, right?
I think, okay, so the bread has to be cooked separately from the non-bread item, maybe?
That's good. That's a good way of interpreting it, I think.
Okay.
So I just popped in to let you know we have about 5 minutes left.
Okay.
All right. See you in the main room soon.
I'm really curious to know how much time people.
Say that again.
I was saying, I wonder how much time people spend to define bread, like as we did, which was interesting.
Should we clarify question 3? Does it include non-bread? Does it include non-bread between the 2?
Between the bread components?
Opposing surfaces.
Yeah.
How about talking about how you eat it? Like, do you eat it with a fork or do you eat it with your hands?
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, because right now it could be a soup in a bread bowl.
Do we want to say without utensils, or do we want to say with your one's hands? With one's hands, I guess.
Yeah.
Does it
Should
include
we-
solid non-bread between the two poses? That would take care of the soup condition.
What is a sloppy Joe solid?
Yeah. It's got sauce, but it has to include.
What about?
I guess you could.
It's
say
really
there's
just a
no-
ratio between.
Yeah.
Oh.
By the way, shouldn't we put that under, is it edible? Because it sounds more broader than other questions. So is it edible? Can we eat with our hands? And
Okay, yeah,
is there
that's true.
bread?
Yeah.
That's good.
And current situation.
This actually takes care of a lot of the dessert counterexamples too, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we still need to account for. Wait, do we want fully enclosed things to count or no? Like a jelly-filled donut.
No.
Right.
So like a samosa, right? Because it's
That fits right now, right?
What?
Oh, does it have to have at least one
donut?
open side?
Yeah, I think so.
Because right now, like it could be, the bread could be on all sides right now.
Okay, so
Should we say maybe it can only be connected on one side at most? That would allow us to handle like, the sub sandwich case, but it would eliminate things
But
where it's a more
technically the
encompassing-
jelly-filled donut is one only connect. There aren't really sides; it's a circle.
Well, you could still define, top, bottom, left, right. So you could roughly say if you've got, top, a bottom, left, right, a
Should we
front,
say-
back, it has to be on two opposing surfaces and it can only connect on one of the other surfaces. I think you could model most things as a roughly cube shape that are going to fit this definition.
Most things are roughly cubes. I've found.
Sorry.
Should we touch on what's inside briefly before this all ends?
Do we want to include any sweet items, by the way?
that should be fine,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I think so.
Should we get some examples? Because weren't we supposed to come with like adversarial examples and all that?
Oh yeah.
I think we already have
Sort of
like
been coming up with those.
ice cream,
Yeah, like jelly-filled
sandwich.
donut, 3 pieces of bread.
Oh right.
Wait, didn't we do a non-bread? Yeah. Does it include non-bread between the opposing?
Yeah. I'm saying for examples for other people.
Oh.
How'd it go?
It was fun.
All right. Cool. We'll wait for the other groups to come back to.
Kind of clear.
All right. Welcome back, everyone. Okay. So does anyone want to share your ideas? Maybe each group could, like a representative from each group could just quickly kind of summarize. Who wants to go first?
I can go.
Wonderful.
I'm from breakout room 1. So are we just going through the sort of questions that we compiled, or should we also submit our adversarial examples?
How about, do you want to just kind of read through your list, and then can you post the adversarial examples to the chat?
Sure. Okay. Here's the list. Is it edible? Does it contain bread? We have a specific definition of bread that needs to be made of flour, water, yeast, or a different leavening agent, and the bread needs to be leavened. Does it contain something other than bread? Is it pre-assembled? Does an average single bite contain all of the ingredients? Does it have horizontal layers? And does it not contain soup? Okay, and I'll post the adversarial examples to chat.
That's great. I like the average single bite. So do you consider a hamburger to be a sandwich?
I think our group decided that would count.
And does that pass your definition? Like what if there's like a pickle that's kind of off to the side somewhere?
Like a separate thing or within the sandwich?
No, like, yeah, so you've got like a bun on the bottom, hamburger,
yeah,
patty, and then like a, one of those like round pickle slice things, but there's only one of them and it's like off to the side. So if you take your first bite, you might not get the pickle.
Oh, so you're saying a situation in which an average bite doesn't contain all of the ingredients because they did a poor job assembling the sandwich.
Yeah, like does that invalidate its sandwichness or?
I think according to our definition, it would. I'll let others from my group chime in.
No, I don't think it would because we defined it as an average bite. So if you take, your average bite will contain some bits of pickle.
But then does it rule out anything? Because if you eat the whole thing, doesn't the average always contain like above 0?
Yep. But it rules out over other things. Like you can have, for instance, what's like a donut filled with jam. Like on average, I don't think every bite contains.
Dramatic.
Is there music? Yeah.
Oh, sorry, that's my husband.
Okay. Okay. That's great. I love that. Group breakout room 2. Do you want to quickly say your definition? Sorry, we're running out of time here, but.
I can go. So we said it has to have at least 3 parts. The top and bottom have to be both pieces of bread and the bread can't be connected. And then we had to define the bread has to be dough plus a leavening agent. Has to have an edible filling that is not limited to bread and is not limited to a liquid. So, and we said liquid doesn't include things that are like spreadable. And it has to have alternating assembly. So it has to have horizontal pieces that are assembled vertically.
Nice, I like that. That's great, cool. Yeah, really, really, really clever. How about breakout room 3? Do you want to share yours?
Maybe Steven, can you do it?
Yeah, sorry, I had to just change locations. My Wi-Fi was bad, so I do this up. All right, yeah, so ours, I don't know if we had time to make ours complete, but it has one, is it edible? Can it be eaten with one's hands? And then is it bread on at least 2 opposing external surfaces? And we took like sort of a broad definition of bread, where that's pretty much any grain product that is made by cooking like a dough or batter. Then for, does it include non-bread between the opposing bread surfaces? 5, was the bread cooked separately from the non-bread component? And then 6, is it fully enclosed? Is it not fully enclosed, which means as part of that it's connected on at most one side, like the opposing bread surfaces.
Awesome. Yeah, so those are all great. So since we're running out of time, I just want to like kind of mention a few things for you to think about. So first, think about like what were the easy parts and the hard parts, and like what'd you learn from trying to put that definition together. Some of to give you a sense of like how I think about adversarial examples, since like, you know, my job in grading your assignments is to come up with adversarial examples to like break your code. You know, you have to build in like a mental model of me to when you're doing your assignment. So one of the things that I had come up with is like, what if one of your rules is like, ask someone if they think it's a sandwich? And if they say yes, then it's probably a sandwich. But I you know, wanted to rule out that. Okay, so things I came up with are like hot dog, ice cream sandwich, a layered cake with filling, stack of pancakes, pizza, a loaf of bread, 2 loaves of bread stacked on top of each other, a stack of file folders, double-decker hamburger, quadruple-decker hamburger, a hoagie or sub, the town of Sandwich, Massachusetts, an ice cream sandwich, a knuckle sandwich, it's like punching someone in the face, a non-sandwich food item that is called sandwich in a made-up language, a formerly edible sandwich that you inject with plastic or another non-edible substance, a legit sandwich in a room full of people who call sandwiches by some other word, a lettuce wrap, burrito, a rice sandwich that was brought up in one of the groups, a matzo sandwich that was brought up in a different group, juice in a straw, it's like between things, a chocolate truffle, sandwich with burritos used instead of bread, calzone, bread bowl. All right, so things to meditate on. Okay, so we're out of time for today. For Monday, please go through the materials up through the end of module 1, including the first assignment. And you'll see that assignment is a quick one once you've gone through the rest of the material. And then come to class on Monday with any questions, comments, etc. About the material and or assignment. So it'll be due on midnight, like at midnight on Monday. So you have time in class to ask questions. So have a great weekend and see you all on Monday.